And are you down with OEL? Yeah, you know me. I was down with OEL. Yeah, you know me. You go down with OEL? Oh, Vancouver Canuck Media is and Vancouver Canuck Nation is. So we're going to talk about OEL. Yeah, you know us. Hockey Podcast.
All right, well, let's move on to OEL then. Hey, shall we?
Who's
Yeah, I was
hosting
about to
this,
say,
by the
we
way?
need the tangent police to end this one.
Yeah.
Are you down with OEL? Yeah, you know. By the way, I put a poll up. Who would you rather have? Matt Dumba, who we talked about before, was a potential trade option, and lost to Alex Pietrangelo in that poll, or OEL?
I think I would go Dumba.
I'd go OEL. I like him as a better. I like his overall game more than Dumba's.
For me, Dumba is a little bit less of a gamble.
Dumba being younger, I would go with Dumba. I feel like OEL, depending on what your salary or how, like, because what's happening is that they're debating on salary retention in Arizona or taking back a contract if he's going to get traded to Vancouver. And with OEL, yes, he's only played in one hockey market, which Arizona / Phoenix isn't really a hot hockey spot. So him going to Vancouver potentially or Boston, big change of scenery, being older, having that cap hit is going to be very interesting to see how things really pan out. But with Matt Dumba, I feel like there's more cost certainty there, and you're getting a younger defenseman who is a tier lower than OEL, but in the long run, you have a young, good defenseman that you can grow your team around pretty much, and it'd be a good balance between Hughes and Dumba. So I'd go Dumba.
I would lean naturally. Part of me would lean Dumba, but I do feel I don't think you could lose with either of them.
No,
Like, I like Ekman Larson's. I think both have a versatility about them. Ekman Larson, you're looking at 8.2 until 2027. You have a captain, so that's one thing. At 29 years old till 2027. If that doesn't work out, though, that's another huge cap hit in flat cap world. So, um, I think what it comes down to me is what you would have to give up for them. And I precursed this in the chat, in our little private chat. I said I think that this is a really hard deal for the Canucks to do without giving up a Brock Besser. Maybe I'll start with the outsider here with Devin. Because Ekman Larson, there is a potential for Calgary, but reportedly Calgary's not on his list. So I think this seems to be more of a possibility of a Canucks. Maybe the Leafs, so maybe the Leafs are on his list as well. But maybe we'll Canuck focus this for a second. This and then I'll add it, make a big picture. Can you make an Ekman Larson deal without Brock Besser or a top 6 forward?
Yes.
yeah, I think you definitely can. You definitely can.
Dev, before you go, I just want to precursor this with the two teams we've heard that are on Ekman Larson's list, and it sounds like they're the only two teams that are on the list based off of what we're hearing from all the insiders and everything, is Vancouver and Boston. There's no one else right now. So if Arizona wants to make a deal, they're going to have to do it with one of those teams, and both of them are teams with cap issues. Boston has Torrey Krug, who needs to be re-signed, who I think you can get signed for cheaper and not give up assets. while the Canucks are looking at this going, okay, is there a way to make this work and leverage this over Arizona? So yeah, Deb, you can go now.
Thank you.
As a precursor to your precursor, though, Pierre LeBrun said that the Coyotes are insisting that the Ekman-Larsson expands that list.
Yeah, but he
And
doesn't have to.
That's
he
true.
doesn't have to, but I'm sure that if you really wanted to help out the organization, he probably has a secondary list that he doesn't want to put out there until Phoenix or Arizona has really beaten that horse to death with Boston or Vancouver. With as far as Boston goes, yeah, it doesn't make any sense with Torrey Krug. Why would you pay for an older player when you have a great power play specialist and great defender in Torrey Krug, and giving up assets to get Oliver Ekman-Larsson? Now for Vancouver, yeah, there's tons of possibilities. Arizona with their whole they lost draft picks. They lost this year's second round draft pick and next year 2021's first round draft pick because of their physical testing of drafted players or players that are getting drafted this year. So they're looking for draft picks and they're looking to cut salary. And so it really depends on, it's not so much the cap hit, it is how much money they owe potentially to a player. And I'm talking about Arizona because they don't want to be paying as much. So it's like there's definitely a lot of possibilities. Putting a young prospect in there probably would definitely be a part of it. And they want to get younger. And so that they can grow around the Clayton Kellers of the world over there and the Connor Garlands. So there's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I don't. The way I look at it is the Arizona really wants to cut as much cash as possible.
Yeah.
Not necessarily cap, but they did just buy out Michael Grabner as well today. So that frees up a little more cap room for them. I wonder if that's a precursor to something, an OEL deal here in the next day or so.
And moving cash around to make something more affordable.
Yeah, but that's the big thing is Ekman-Larsson's cap hit is 8.25. He's owed $4 million, I think, for this year because his signing bonus was $4 million for this season. So he's owed another $4 million for this season, but next season he's owed 10.5.
Wow.
So there's no way that they. I think Arizona does have a chance, have an ability to wait this out if they want throughout this season because it's only $4 million, but they definitely don't want to be paying him that full $10.5 million salary for the 21-22 season, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they want to move him is to move out that cash. So with that in mind, you look at the bad contracts that the Canucks have. Looking at Louis Eriksson specifically, he's only owed $5 million out of in the next 2 years. He's owed $1 million for this upcoming season because he's already been paid, I think, a $3 or $4 million signing bonus, and then he's owed a $1 million signing bonus for the 21-22 season, and then the other $3 million to round out what he's owed for his salary for that season. So if they can find a way, if they're looking at trying to lower cash, they might be able to do it. But again, like with the salary of, so I think there is an opportunity for the Canucks to find a way to offload a bad contract while adding a top 4 defenseman. If they can do it, they can do it. But it's, as you said, Kevin, it's a very tough trade to make because of all the cash issues and the Canucks cap issues. Because they still need to fill out their roster, and they still have Toffoli, who they want to bring back. They've got Markstrom, they've got They have to make a choice on what to do with players like Jake Virtanen and Troy Stetcher. So it's a very, very tough move to make. But I think there's an opportunity here that the Canucks, if the Canucks can find the right mix of young players, prospects, and picks to acquire a top 4 defenseman who can basically solidify the left side of the Canucks defense for the next 6-7 years.
I feel like Devin was going to say something.
Just talk about a blessing. God, you guys have been talking, and like the Canucks have been talking about getting rid of that contract of Louis Eriksson for years, and you know, here comes on a silver platter potentially. So, God, being a Leafs and Flames fan here, it's scary to think about.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, the creative option here is: could you get a third team involved?
That's hard.
That would be hard unless they're doing something similar to what. Yeah, it's too. Depending on what you want that third team to do, I think you just have to focus in on just making a trade and then with Arizona and just figuring it out.
Like, Kev, are you thinking of like a Hurricanes Marlowe buyout sort of situation? Is that where you're hinting towards?
Yeah. Try to see if you can put another team in there that you could possibly swap some prospects, or Tyler's favorite word, the sweetener, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if I'm Arizona, okay, yeah, it's fine that I can, you're giving me Louis Eriksson, but for what use am I going to play you Louis Eriksson? Like we need players on the ice, right? Now, the other thing that Arizona, we didn't talk about this in the goaltender market, but Darcy Kemper is another name in this goaltender market. I know Calgary's linked to Darcy Kemper. I believe Toronto may be linked to Darcy Kemper if they've decided to move on from Freddie Anderson. I know Toronto's linked to Markstrom. That's Toronto's made a pitch. Toronto's seriously looked at Markstrom. Devin's shocked. Like, what the heck? Are you kidding me with this news? Yeah, no.
They have to move on from Anderson first because they have no cap room.
Yeah, but that's the other. Like, Arizona needs to actually put, and they're trying to go younger. Louis Eriksson isn't young, so that's kind of where my struggle is, I guess, in the sense of finding a way to make this beneficial for Arizona. And what I'm seeing, if I'm Arizona, I'm like, that's okay, but I don't know if that's really, like, I would like to see something else, honestly. If I'm Arizona's perspective.
Yeah, that can't just be a contract graveyard.
Yeah.
But I think it's more likely we see Antti Ranta traded than Darcy Kemper right now. For the Coyotes, like he's got 1 year left at 4.25.
That's okay, but I don't know if that's really like. Sorry, there. Forgot to hit mute.
I disagree. I don't think anybody wants to touch Antti Ranta right now at all, and there's been no talk of Antti Ranta being moved at all. It has to do with Darcy Kemper and moving on from him. I disagree with you, Sean.
Well, I think I do think that there's a lot of chatter around Kemper because he is the better goaltender assigned for 2 years. 2 years left on his contract. You have that at a decent rate at 4.5 for a starter who has at the top of his game been a top 5 goaltender. That's why, right? But I think right now Arizona's is basically being is in a spot where the vultures are circling and trying to pick the bones, right? Because everyone knows that they're trying to lose cap and cash, and they're trying to rebuild and get younger, and they're trying to fleece them.
Of course. Well, and with Antti Ranta, why would you? Yes, he's proven to be a good potential 1A, 1B, but his injury history isn't good. And why would you risk that when there's so many other goalies out there who are good 1B, 1A options on the market right now? So that's why Kemper is being talked about. It's because he is a number one goalie in this league. Look at how good Arizona was until right after the Taylor Hall trade, because Kemper got injured. That's the only reason why that Arizona was actually in so many games, is because of that goalie, and that's why they're going with that. So the idea of Antti Raanta being talked about, sure, yeah, you want to keep the better goalie, but it just wouldn't make sense to me at all by any GM to be acquiring about Antti Raanta.
We're talking about a goalie who in 33 games in Antti Raanta put up a save percentage of .921 though. Like, it's not like he's bad. The issues with him are injuries, and Kemper's had them as well too.
Yeah,
I think you're underselling how valuable Antti Raanta could be for some teams.
Just the uncertainty, though, when you have the certainty of getting a goalie who doesn't have that, and within the goalie market that we have for free agency, it could be an option after free agency, once you see other goalies drop and get signed by other teams, for sure. But once again, I don't think that could be an option, and I could be once again eating crow, as Chris talked about last time on the podcast for me. So, but I personally just don't see it.
yeah, I don't think Ranta's top of mind for everybody, but maybe a trade deadline option, maybe later in the year option, maybe closer to whenever training camp starts option. Yeah, that's certainly would be
I
there.
feel like you'd be going for him in like a very specific sort of situation, as opposed to just being like hey, he's our guy, we want to move forward with that sort of.
That's a great point, Chris.
Yeah. Now, okay, Sean is the biggest fan of this, I guess, from your perspective. If you're getting Ekman Larson, Tanev you're not bringing Tanev back. You
Nope.
can't. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. You're replacing Tanev with. You're gonna have to rejig that right side of your blue line, but your left side's set, and you've got two top end left defensemen to build around. I have no issues. I have no issues with that. If you're bringing in Ekman Larson, that's fine. And thank you, Chris Tanev, for everything you've done. And you're going to get a really good contract elsewhere. But Ekman Larson's on another level, man. Like, get it. Like, as much as I love Chris Tanev, Ekman Larson's is on a different level in terms of defensemen. So I don't think it's as much as I want to see Tanev retire as a Canuck. If that's the move they make, then that's the move they make, and they're a better team for it.
My biggest question mark about OEL, though, is if he's already starting to decline, is he worth that cap hit? And that's what I really struggle with.
Okay, the decline of OEL has been absolutely over. People saying that he's declined, I think is.
Like, I'm not saying he's like dropped off the cliff. I'm just saying you're starting to see the signs.
It's. I think he just needs to get away from Arizona. I think you'll definitely see a pop up in his performance when he gets out of Arizona and plays on a team that can actually that has skill that he can work with. Like, I don't see. I do think that everyone who, like, if you look over social media and on the media, all this talk is about how he hasn't performed as an elite defenseman in the last couple of years. Like, well, let's look at the team he was on the last couple of years.
I think, right? You'll definitely have a peak of being on a new team. Being able to actually be on a new, better team will definitely spike or start climbing the ranks a little bit more, and start seeing the old OEL of where I guess when he was younger. But you do have to be cautious with defensemen over 30. You really do. It's just age is a bitch.
And with how long his term is too. Like for me, it's the combination of the height of the cap hit and the length of the term.
And again, that's why this is such a hard trade to make, because there's all those questions.